Hey, I'm Fred.
And I'm Ant.
And this is Creator Generation.
Create a generation of hype.
All right, Frederico, what is happening this week?
This week we're talking with Jenny Zhou.
All the brands or celebrity names are like Chinese-ified or like Pinyin-ified. So I called myself Long Tang Li, the Jenny, which is a rough Shanghai to Mandarin translation of Jenny from the block, but it's like Jenny from the Chinese alleyway.
We go on a wild and whimsical ride. A lot of tangents in this one, but it's a good one.
Just a quick note, this is a cut-down version of this interview. If you want to check out the whole podcast, head on over to your favourite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you can check it out there. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back to Creator Generation. This week we are joined by, I'm going to give it a shot, Jenny Chow.
Yay!
I don't think that's right.
Or Jenny Zhou or Jenny Zhou.
Actually, let Jenny. Can you just say it proper, like the way it's meant to be said, so everyone knows?
Do you want the full Chinese version?
Yeah, do the
Yes,
Chinese
please.
version.
So it's actually not that hard. It's just my name reversed. It's Zhou Jiani.
Brilliant.
That's very nice. All right.
I love it.
Can we just say Jenny Zhou? Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay, cool. All right. If you're happy with that, then
I've never had my name said so many times in like the space of 30 seconds.
It's very important. And anyway, we'll move on. I've got a very simple name for a very simple man.
Yet people
and
still,
I can't even-
it probably is the name that gets mistaken the most whenever we go to events or we're somewhere, and they always get Ant's name mixed up. So
That's true.
What is your full name, Ant? So it's Anton?
You shouldn't laugh. It's people. The only people who call me, I think Fred is the only person, and Lee are probably the only people who call me Anton. And there's a couple of Tasmanian devils who also call me Anton, and I think they pioneered it. But my full proper name is Anthony. Anyway, wow. Welcome back to Creator Generation, where we go on massive tangents. Everyone who's listened before would know this. Anyone who hasn't, well, hopefully you're still here with us. Anyway, it's actually not about me. It's about you, Jenny. So maybe like you can introduce yourself, because you've got a pretty interesting,
Thank you.
I don't know, resume of things that you do.
Sure. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jenny. Much more simpler than Ant's name, diaspora of all the options. So I was born and raised in Melbourne. I'm a Chinese-born Australian, so I speak Mandarin and Shanghainese, and ever since I grew up, I always kind of maintained that culture at home. When I was younger, I always wanted to be an actor, but because the film industry in Australia when I was younger wasn't as diverse, I made the trek to move to Shanghai to study acting and performance for university, where I spent 6 years. And then I also worked as a radio DJ, a presenter, and like an interviewer for events and things. Of course, all of this time I was doing YouTube as well, which started when I was in high school, and I used to make covers on the guitar and piano with my friend Cassie, and we were called Olive and Petal. The covers are gone now, but the YouTube channel is still kicking, still alive to this day. And now we're back in Melbourne and kind of working on everything here.
Holy but jolly. So you went over to Shanghai, right? And what? So at the same time, were you creating YouTube content while you're over there?
Yeah, I was trying to. It was definitely very here and there, but I tried to document my dorm, my uni life, my first day at the radio, what it was like working as a presenter and stuff. But yeah, a lot of people were interested, I think, in just the Shanghai expat life, because a lot of people were thinking about moving abroad during that time and doing a lot of research online.
What about any of the Chinese social media platforms? Are you on any of those? Really curious.
Yeah. It's like a whole other world. So you have Weibo, which I would describe as kind of like Facebook, Instagram put together. I think there were a lot more just like, regular, everyone was on it, your workmate was on it, but now it's more of like an influencer kind of celebrity platform. So influencers, they call KOLs in China, which is key opinion leader. Or they call them Wang Hong, which means like web hot. So you have like the fashion, the cooking, just kind of anyone with like a more online presence. WeChat is just like your chatting extraordinaire. You can pay with it. You can pay your phone bill with it. You can video call. You can have group chats. So a lot of offices will have their company group chat on it. So we don't really use emails there. There's also something called 小红书, which is Little Red Book. And I think it's like the Pinterest, but there's also so many influencers and KOLs on there as well. And I think we all know TikTok because China has Douyin, which is kind of the same as TikTok, but just different regions. And I'm sure you've seen like the Chinese TikTok fashion challenges when like people walk out with super long legs and really cool outfits and that background music that's like really hardcore.
Are you web hot on any of those platforms?
Definitely not.
I'm so taking that on. Like this
I'm
web hot. Web hot. Like once you translate it to English, it sounds, I don't know. It sounds something
Hot.
that Ant should say a lot. It's like, yeah, this creator is web hot on Instagram. I'm super fascinated by it because we obviously, I can't really engage with those platforms very well because I don't understand Mandarin or Cantonese or any or of that. And like you said, they operate very, very differently. Is your audience then, when you're creating content, whether it's on YouTube or any of the other platforms, like who are you talking? Who do you talk to? Are you talking to a Chinese speaking, Mandarin speaking audience, or are you speaking? Who do you talk to?
The wall, actually, but for YouTube, it's my audience, I'm guessing, is mostly kind of American-born Chinese or Australian-born Chinese or kind of Singapore, UK-based. So that's mostly like English, Western content. I do trickle in some Shanghai content or Mandarin content here and there because I know a lot of people are like me and are trying to improve their native tongue. On Instagram, it's kind of more just like my daily life pictures, not so much made for anyone, but just kind of myself. For Weibo, it's definitely, the content is a lot different because you do that 9 grid post. I mean, you can do like 1 or 3 photos, but it looks cooler as like a block when it comes out as 9. So I have a Chinese podcast and that's where I just usually update everyone. So I'll put the link in, I'll put like screenshots of the podcast and like kind of what I've done during the week as like a little update. So that's probably like a weekly update, but most of the people who follow me on there are listeners from our old radio station, so it's not really like a lot of new people on there. But yeah, just to make sure people still listen to the podcast.
So you have a separate massive fan base in basically another dimension of the internet.
I wouldn't say massive, just maybe like a tiny little group of very lovely people. But yeah, from the radio days, because I think in China there's so many people. I think the city of Shanghai has the same amount of people or more than all of Australia. So if you're on a radio channel there compared to in Melbourne, your fan base, your listener base is just like tenfold.
Interesting.
Hey, Jenny, are you on TikTok?
Yes.
And are you,
what was the follow-up on that?
What do you do on TikTok?
Yeah,
like, we talked about all these platforms. I'm really keen to, like, what do you do on that one?
TikTok's kind of like my little experimental thing, like my adopted child that I kind of just leave there on its own. I try to do like some of the trending challenge things, and then some fashion things, some videos of my cat, but it's just really random on TikTok. And it took me so long to figure out how to use the editing function. It was like a 10-second video and I was pretty sure I was on there for 4 hours. I think I got carpal tunnel from just like twiddling my thumb so much. But then like Instagram Reels came out of nowhere. So I'm really torn. So I've kind of done more on the Reels side now because I already have like people who follow me on Instagram and I can just do fashion videos on there. So I don't know. What do you guys think about it? The whole Reels and TikTok thing.
Well, actually, before we give you our opinion, what do you think are the fundamental differences between like Reels and TikTok?
I think Reels is more directed to like your current audience, and I do find Reels a little bit more perfected, a lot more fashion. I don't know if it's just my explore page, but it's a lot more holiday based, fashion based, and almost kind of tutorial based. Like, I'm a wedding photographer, these are the things that you need, and then they point to all those words. You can find all those things on TikTok as well, but I find like TikTok is best for just those random humor videos. Like, you're just like, why did that person think of that? Like, I can't even, like, the dank memes and like just the really random footage, and you'll see people like repost that onto Reels. But I just feel like Instagram is just like a slightly different platform in comparison to TikTok when it comes to the randomness. I find TikTok more creative, but random creative.
I have to agree. I think TikTok is definitely more creative. I think it's a great platform, and it's got some of the most innovative and creative creators, and some of the things they do is pretty impressive, especially given how quickly that content goes by. I found Reels to be a little bit, I don't know, like a little bit static in the sense that it just feels like a little bit of an extension of Instagram, but everyone just sort of redoes their TikTok videos and puts them on Reels. So you get, because you get all those, the TikTok branding on nearly all the videos. And, I didn't find the Reels one to be the algorithm to be as intuitive in the serving.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful. Yeah, it's very accessible, right? Like all these platforms, some are more accessible than others. But like, I guess, you sort of, to talk back, to what you're doing, Jenny, it's like, how do you do all this?
Well, I always say I'm a jack of all trades and master of none. And that's definitely my work ethic as well, where I kind of just dabble in a little bit of everything. I kind of enjoyed staying at home, especially during isolation, because I actually had the time to go and do all of the things. So now I've had more time to kind of focus on each of those tasks individually and try to grow them more. But yeah, I think just because I see them as a hobby, I'll always find time for the things that I like.
Jenny, you like talking about myriad things that you do, and I think that's really interesting that you kind of like they are passions for you, so therefore you give them the time and energy. Do they connect together some way?
Well, they're all quite creative, and they're all me personally as a person, because I guess for acting, you're always being someone else. So all of these platforms are a nice way for me just to be myself. For like the Chinese podcast, it's a way for me to keep practicing my Chinese, and it's a way for me to keep up the content for people who used to listen to the radio show in China. YouTube is just kind of this thing that I've tried to stick with, because I'm a big quitter sometimes when I was younger. So YouTube, I think almost 10 years on it. So I want to just keep going with it. It's kind of grown up with me. It's like a photo album of my life. So I want to stick with that. Instagram is just, a social media updating thing. So yeah.
Oh, you're talking about like how all these platforms and the content, it's like yourself. Do you draw a line of how much of yourself and your life you share?
Well, this is something that I've never really mentioned before, but I used to streamline my content on my Chinese platforms to show not much of my personal life or my relationship or anything, just because there's just so many more people there. One thing can go wrong and like you'd have like 10 times the amount of people hating on you. Or I don't know. It was just like my life in Australia, and I kind of wanted to keep it a little bit separate for when I was in China. Now I don't really care as much. It's not so much of what parts of my life like I film and stuff, but it's more personally like my opinions or thoughts, because especially on YouTube, a lot of people can just randomly stumble upon your video, and everyone obviously holds different opinions and different thoughts. So I don't want to offend anyone with that. So I'm always quite careful of what I say. And when I film, I will film like a couple versions of a sentence that I think might be like a little bit out there. Yeah, it's definitely more what I say than what I show. Does that make sense?
It does. Actually, speaking of that, when you are creating obviously content for the different audiences, is there a difference in your creation method for creating for a Chinese audience versus like a US audience, for example? And two, is there different things the audiences like and accept?
So I've been quite lazy, and when I upload videos to my Chinese audience, it's usually just my exact same video with, I don't know, maybe the ending and the start cut out just to make it a little bit shorter. But I will put captions on, because even if people in China know how to speak English, they do like to look at the words as they are kind of listening, so they can perhaps learn more. And of course, I do speak a lot faster, but I noticed that I definitely act a lot more like little girl when I speak Chinese or when I film things in Chinese.
And what about like English terms and names? Do they have certain ways you say them in Chinese? Like there are certain, or is it just plain exactly the way you say it in English?
No, so like all the brands or celebrity names are like Chinese-ified or like pinyin-ified. Like even, I know when you speak Japanese, it sounds Japanese when you say like a celebrity's name. For example, Bella Hadid, the other day I saw a billboard and underneath they always write the celebrity's name, and it was Bella Hadid or something. And I was like standing there reading it for 5 minutes, and I was like, oh, Bella.
So is there an official way to say it, or is it just interpretations? If I said like, how do you say Brad Pitt, for Chinese audience?
There is like an official way, but Chinese fans also like to give all the celebrities nicknames.
Oh.
So Ed Sheeran for a while was called Huang Laoban. Huang, which means yellow, so it means yellow boss, but I think it's because his hair, and like yellow could kind of mean golden as well. And Taylor Swift was called May May, which I think kind of meant like unlucky but beautiful, like a beautiful unlucky person, because at the time she was really unlucky in love.
Oh my gosh! Is there any other good one?
Do you have
I want to know more.
a nickname?
I actually gave myself a nickname when I was on radio. So I called myself Long Tang Li, the Jenny, which is a rough Shanghainese to Mandarin translation of Jenny from the block, but it's like Jenny from the Chinese alleyway.
Yes. Jenny from the Chinese alleyway. Oh my god! There has to be more.
Jenny, you are the least alleyway person.
Oh my. Okay. Hey, can you give Ant a nickname?
I would guess it'd have to be the Chinese version of like the insect ants. It'd be like mani, which means ant, but it also sounds like money in English. So I think that's a pretty good name, right?
Money.
Ant money.
Sure, I'll take it. That's great. I mean, Fred, I don't know if you deserve one after always throwing me under the bus on these little.
Well, I mean, if you could think of something.
Sojourns,
Yeah, that's fantastic. I actually didn't realize all that. That's good. Is there any other good ones?
Oh, well, not really a good one, but one that was kind of confusing was 肯豆, and the second word means bean. So I was doing an event, and they said that was the celebrity, and I was like, I have school. I don't really know who the celebrity is. I might give this one a pass, so I don't get the teachers mad at me. And then I Googled it, like the Chinese Google, and 肯豆 was actually Kendall. As in Kendall Jenner.
Right.
So then obviously I was like, I'll quit school to do this event. But sometimes you can't really tell because the Chinese words just mean something completely different. And I think like Lauv, like Lauv, the singer, he was called like Sixth Princess. I'm not sure why. But yeah, he's called Sixth Princess in Chinese.
I love it. I think it's great.
That is so good.
Everyone gets their own little additional brand sort of.
Oh, I remembered a really good one.
Which one?
Katy Perry.
Yes.
Do you remember how like Teenage Dream and everything, she was all really colorful and she had like all the fruit and stuff going on? So she in China is called 水果姐姐, which means fruit sister.
Yes.
Which I find really endearing, because if you call someone sister, you know, they're part of the fam, and she's also fruit sister. Very wholesome.
Oh, that's very good.
I think this is brilliant.
Right.
I just
This is very good. And so you for like you don't have like a special one you use for YouTube or anything. That was just what you had on radio. Jenny from the Little Chinese Alleyway. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jenny from the alleyway. Yeah, Street Fighter. Jenny from the alleyway. I like it.
Oh, very nice. Oh my goodness, mate! You know what? Actually, we've actually run out of time. We've been talking about all of the wonderful things, and we've actually run out of time. So, we like to finish on a couple of tips. So, getting the creator to give us some of their top tips for budding creators out there. What would you advise? Yeah,
I would say I'm a budding creator myself. So if you want like a struggling tip from a struggling person, here goes. Everyone always says just like keep pumping out the content, like especially video wise. There's going to be a certain video that someone will like out there. But someone said in their video the other day, don't make content for like the 10% of the people in your comments that might say, I want you to make a video in just say Mandarin. But I know 90% of my viewers don't understand Mandarin. So obviously I think go with that ratio. Like don't completely change your channel because of what a small pool of people might like. Obviously you want to like make everyone happy, but I think the ratio of your channel might have to reflect like the ratio of your audience a little. Does that make sense?
Bonus question for those people who don't reach a Chinese audience but would like to, which platform should they give a go at first to reach that Chinese audience?
If you have a YouTube channel, I would definitely say go on bilibili.com, which is Bilibili, which is like the Chinese YouTube. And if you can, just get like Chinese captions on your video, because I feel like that platform is really popular at the moment. You can find TV shows, you can find vloggers, you can kind of find everything on there. And there's a lot of like Western expats uploading their Chinese live on there. I'd say probably that one is like the TikTok of Australia right now, whereas like a lot of new people are coming on and like anyone can kind of hit it off. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great.
Bilibili.
All right, check that out. That's a hot tip.
There you go.
It's a web hot tip.
Web
hot tip from a web hot star. This is awesome. Great. Awesome. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a strange, wonderful journey of many, many tangents, but I've had fun. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Jenny. See ya.
Create a generation on the mic.